views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome on a autumnal fall day up here in the Bronx. It's good to be back. I was up here just last week with my good friend, the Boro President, Diaz Jr. So the format today is we'll do some intros, then we will make a few comments. There's a number of us going to speak, and then we'll go to questions. So I'd just like to introduce first of all the other people who are up here today. We have my good friend, my colleague, Acting MTA Bus President and Senior Vice President for Buses of New York City Transit, Craig Cipriano. We all know this gentleman behind me, Borough President, Bronx Borough President Diaz Jr. We have Assembly Member Jamal Bailey, Assembly Member Michael Benedetto, Assembly Member Latoya Joyner, Council Member Mark Jonai, DYC DOT Bronx Borough Commissioner Nevado Lopez, representing Polly Trottenberg, the DOT Commissioner, and a representative from Speaker Heastie's office. So today is another great day for our renaissance of the bus system here in New York City. As you know, we have been spending the last year or so progressively redesigning the bus network here in New York City. As you also know, we kicked it off in Staten Island. We successfully redesigned, reimagined, if you will, the express bus network in Staten Island, and all of the indicators that we look for, faster journey time, shorter duration of journeys, faster bus speeds, more reliable service, all of those indicators have trended positive, which is great. So now we move to the next redesign, which was here in the Bronx, and we've been doing the express and the local buses here together, and Craig will talk to that detail. But I've been fully involved in that. I do remember going up to Co-op City and speaking to around 1,000 people about why we're doing this redesign, why it's important, and what the opportunities are. We've already started the redesign in both Queens and Queens and Brooklyn, and of course Manhattan is next to come. So lots going on. We've committed to redesign, reimagine all of the bus routes in the whole of New York City and all 5 boroughs. So that process is well underway. And of course, it's not just about redesigning the bus network, it's also about working with our colleagues at the Department of Transportation to get our buses moving through ever more crowded streets. So that's things like using traffic signal priority, creating new bus lines, better monitoring existing bus lanes, and that's very topical. We were talking about it just yesterday at the Transit Committee. And it's also about innovative solutions, such as we've just launched on 14th Street, where for the first time for New York, we have a fully dedicated busway, our own version, if you like, of bus rapid transit. And already we're seeing, again, those same factors: decreased journey time, increased bus speed, and a very encouraging increase in ridership. So that's what this is all about. It's about giving New Yorkers the bus network that they need, the bus network that they deserve, and one that will get them back onto the buses, out of their cars, which is good for New York and good for the environment. So on that, I'm going to pass to Craig Cipriano, who will take you through some of the detail of this borough redesign for the wonderful borough of the Bronx. Craig.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Andy. So today is a great day for our 675,000 Bronx bus customers, right? It's the culmination of a customer-led collaborative process. And we set out with some certain goals in mind: creating a high-frequency network, adding frequency on major corridors, improving customer connections to both across the Bronx and to other bus and subway service, balancing stop spacing, and simplifying circuitous routes to increase our service reliability. The final plan is a great foundation for us all to build on. It is by no means final, and we will continue to make adjustments and work with our partners, our elected partners, as well as our bus customers, as we are currently doing and have done in Staten Island. We will continue to make adjustments. We'll continue to monitor the service, to monitor social media, complaints, and suggestions, to feed that back into the service, to see what we're doing right and where we need to tweak. The average bus stop spacing in the Bronx is just over 3 city blocks, far closer than bus stops in transit systems across the world. The redesign will take these bus stops to about 1,100 feet, considering factors such as stop usage, ridership, geography, and impact to the community. We kept stops that serve high ridership areas, such as retirement communities, hospitals, and schools, and stops that were transferred to subway stations or connections to different bus routes. And we also knew we need to plan for the future. So this redesign takes a look at that. Quite frankly, the existing Bronx network was not looked at since the old trolley days and the takeover of the private lines. We knew we needed to look at bus speeds, analyze not only our internal data, but external data. Take a look at where development is anticipated so we can redesign it for our customers today and the customers that want to come to us in the future. So this was a result of a very collaborative process between us and our external stakeholders, and I want to share with you some results. We added frequency on 11 routes across 9 major corridors, 3 route extensions so we could reach more neighborhoods. We simplified 7 existing routes. 4 routes will provide direct service to accessible subway stations in the Bronx. And there are 3 brand new routes, 2 brand new local routes, the BX25 and M125, and a brand new express route, the BXM5. We also built upon our existing successes, namely the BX6. It is being streamlined and extended along Story Avenue into Soundview to benefit almost 10,000 customers today. And in the near future, this route will be used by customers going to the new Metro North Station, as well as new development on Whitlock Avenue. And looking forward to our express bus customers, the BXM2, BXM18, and BXM11 are all being rerouted to provide faster journey times. So this is not the end, but yet a key milestone in our continuing collaborative process with our customers and the electeds. And with that, I would like to turn over the mic to Boro President Ruben Diaz Jr., who's been our partner throughout this process.
Thank you, Craig. Good morning, everyone. Buenos dias. This is wonderful news that's very much needed here in the Bronx in the city of New York after the Yankees lost to the Houston Astros last week. We welcome this news. I just want to thank President Andy Byford, Craig, Jessica, all of the team at the New York City Transit for the good work that you've done, the New York City DOT. The fact is this, ladies and gentlemen, is that the bus service here in the Bronx, as you know, throughout the city of New York, frankly put, is awful. And something needs to change. And as Craig said earlier, when you look at all of the bus routes, the fact that so many of them have been around for so long, the days of trolley, 50, 100 years ago, well, the Bronx has changed considerably in the last 10 years alone, let alone 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago. And so for us to keep going about providing the bus service in the way that it is now, in the current way, and expect for better outcomes, well, that's the definition of insanity. And to have someone like Byford come in, quite frankly, many of us were skeptical. Quite frankly, many of us have dealt with the MTA and the New York City Transit for many, many years in our political careers or as residents of the Bronx and city of New York. And we did not know exactly what to expect. And we knew that to have the same bus routes, what it does is it creates delays, it creates congestion, it affects people's moods, it affects the way that they approach or their productivity at work or the students at the schools. And so we welcome this, and think about the cross-section of elected officials and cross-section of community boards and the cross-section of advocates and activists throughout the borough of the Bronx. For everyone to, for the most part, say we support this final redesign plan, well, that's nothing short of a miracle if you ask me. And that speaks to your leadership, that speaks to the open-mindedness. And so as the borough president, I'm here to say thank you. Craig said, and I quote, he says, "We will continue to make adjustments." Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'll stop here and say this. Andy Byford, Craig, and the rest of the team at least for me, at least for my team, you have our full vote of confidence because you've maintained that all along. And if you look at how the Grand Concourse and the residency feel, where adjustments have been made from the initial plans, you've kept to your word. You look at Co-op City, you've kept to your word. Concourse Village, you've kept to your word. Soundview, you've kept to your word. Pelham Bay Park, you've kept to your word. And so I hope, and I'm optimistic that this final design will be efficacious in getting our commuters to and from their point of destinations more expeditiously. And I hope even more that city agencies and state agencies take note and examine the process, the respect that was given to us here in the Boogie Down Bronx and mimic that in the near future. And so with that said, I mentioned Co-op City. That's complex. Over 1,000 people showed up. Andy Byford, I said, go over there personally, and you did that. And you saw and you felt it and you listened. And someone who was there leading the way was the assemblyman of the area, none other than our good friend, Michael Benedetto.
Thank you, Mr. Boro President. Good morning, everybody. You know, we live in a world that everybody seems to be doubtful of the leadership. People say one thing and then do completely something different. And there was skepticism in my mind, and there was skepticism in Co-op City where I represent when the MTA came to us and said they're going to redesign the buses. They're going to make them better. We're going to reach out and we're going to listen. Well, we gave them a chance to do that. People were skeptical. But you know what? They did what they said they were going to do. They held forums. They had discussions going on, eliciting information and responses from the people of Co-op City. They listened to what people in Co-op City wanted, and then they came back with a plan. And the people of Co-op City said, hey, it's a nice little plan, but it's not exactly what we want. And so the MTA went back to the drawing board again and redrew their plans and came back with another plan that the people of Co-op City said, hey, we can live with this. This is exactly what we were looking for. The MTA, a skeptical constituency that I had, they convinced them. I applaud President Byford. I applaud the people in the MTA for being such good listeners, and I know they will continue to be. We have been convinced by the actions of the people and the leadership of the MTA that they will listen to their ridership. May they continue that. And so I'm happy to be here, but not alone in the representation in Co-op City. I'm happy to be there with my state senator, Senator Jamal Bailey, who I think we're going to hear from right now. Jamal?
Thank you, Assemblyman. Good morning, everybody. They say when it rains on your wedding day, it's good luck. So when it's raining today, that's even better luck for the Bronx. And in terms of what our plan is going forward, Boro President Diaz, thank you for being a great steward of our borough. President Byford, thank you for listening to us. The MTA's motto has always been, if you see something, say something. Well, in Co-op City, we saw something, we said something, and you did something. Doing something is the most important part about what this is. My district is the example, the epitome of how effective bus service must be. The 36th Senatorial District traverses from east to west across Gun Hill Road, and the only effective way to essentially get across the Bronx is via bus in terms of public transportation. Otherwise, you're taking the subway south just to go back north, or east to go back south to go back west. The buses have to be improved, and the MTA, they stuck by this story. They came to Co-op City, they came to so many communities, and they listened to what people had to say. You know, you don't want the perfect to be the enemy of the good, they say. And I think that we got something between perfect and good. And as Craig said, we're going to continue to work on this. And our eyes and ears will continue to be open in terms of listening to our constituents and what they have to say and what they want. And we have to be able to adjust. One of the things about the time is this, right? We can either change with the times or be changed by the times. And we chose to, with the MTA, to change with the times. So I'm excited about today. I'm excited about the advocacy, the advocacy groups that step forward. And I'm excited about a new bus future for the Bronx. Somebody else that's really excited about the borough of the Bronx and what they do is a wonderful assembly member who I get a chance to work with up in Albany. We've been able to pass a lot of bills concerning our children in schools and also transportation. And she represents this district, and that's State Assemblywoman LaToya Joyner.
So I want to thank all of the colleagues, President Byford, for being here today, because today we're just telling everyday New Yorkers that they matter. Many of our New Yorkers, my residents here, rely on bus service. I'm here particularly to speak up for my Highbridge residents who rely on the BX11, the 13th, and the 18th to get in and out of Highbridge, and to hear that now there will be extended routes, there will be more frequency and bus stops and bus frequency visiting our district. I am extremely grateful and thankful, and to hear that we will be keeping the BX-M4, which many of my residents rely on to get in from here down to Manhattan in an expedited fashion, and I'm very happy to hear that that is happening. And just a special thanks to President Byford. From day one, he made himself available to the Bronx, came here, he had his team on the streets of Highbridge, really getting their input where they were able to design and add different bus routes within that community. So when they're visiting Highbridge and trying to get that perfect Joker shot on Shakespeare Ave, they will have reliable bus service that will take them there. So I want to thank the President today and for all of his commitment to making bus service better for all of the riders in the borough of the Bronx. Thank you. And with that, I will introduce my wonderful colleague, Assemblywoman Natalia Fernandez.
I too want to thank the MTA, President Byford. Thank you for your attention and dedication to this borough. A lot of the time we feel that we're not being heard, our needs aren't being met, but this time you really pulled through and you gave us what we've been asking for, so we are incredibly grateful. The bus service in my district has improved as well. A few stops taken, a few stops added, but I know my constituents will utilize it to the best of their ability to get to where they need to go, and that's the main point of this entire project. So I want to thank you so much, Boro President Diaz. Borough President Diaz, thank you for leading the forums and making sure that we're all on the same page so that all Bronxites are heard. So thank you so much. With that, I'm going to introduce Councilman Mark Jonai.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. First of all, President Byford, your team, the MTA, thank you. What we're experiencing today are tears of joy from the 13th Council District and the entire borough of the Bronx, because truly, this redesign plan has met the needs of our borough. I'm excited as we continue to work on this great relationship where we fight to make our transportation system, as I refer to, ACER, affordable, comfortable, reliable, and efficient. Thank you so much.
Okay, so let me just make one final comment and then we'll go to questions. I should also just thank, someone else?
I want to make some comments.
Okay, I'm sorry,
That's
go
right.
for it. I'm
All
sorry.
That's
DOT,
okay.
I was just going to say big thank you to DOT, so you're on. You can say it yourself.
Thank you very much, President Byford. My name's Navarro Lopez. I'm here on behalf of DOT Commissioner Polly Trottenberg, and I want to extend my thank you first to New York City Transit President Andy Byford, also to Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. for his leadership, and all the elected officials that are here today that have supported the work that New York City Transit has been doing. I'm happy to announce that as part of the New York City Department of Transportation's Better Buses Action Plan and the Mayor's goal to improve bus speeds by 25% over the next few years, we're going to be taking a hard look at several of the key bus routes in the Bronx over the next couple of years, starting in 2020. We're going to look at Fordham Road, Pelham Parkway, 149th Street, Tremont Avenue, Gun Hill Road, and others. And in addition, we're going to do other improvements. For example, on the BX6 and the BX12, we're going to install transit signal priority, which will give our buses a head start when they get to a signal. We're also going to do an inspection of all bus stops to check on accessibility and improve it for all transit riders in the city. And finally, we're also going to look at installing queue jumps to give buses head start, and also look at benches and shelters to help our riders. So with that, I want to thank everyone here today and the MTA. Thank you very much.
Brevemente en el español, porque tenemos Univisión aquí. Yo soy el presidente del condado del Bronx, Rubén Diaz Jr. Estoy aquí con mis colegas del gobierno, los asambleístas y senadores, con el Departamento de Transportación de la Ciudad de Nueva York. Estamos aquí básicamente con el presidente del Departamento de Tránsito del MTA, anunciando el diseño final de las rutas de autobuses aquí en el condado del Bronx. La realidad es que cuando la gente se pasan en los autobuses, se frustran mucho, se atrasan mucho, se tardan mucho, se tardan a su trabajo, a las escuelas. Entonces el presidente Byford vino a donde nosotros el año pasado y dijo, vamos a hacer un diseño nuevo para todos aquí en el condado del Bronx. Muchos de nosotros quizás no teníamos mucha confianza, pero la realidad es que estamos aquí celebrando el labor, los esfuerzos del equipo de Andy Byford y anunciando que estamos contentos. La comunidad del condado del Bronx tiene completamente 100% confianza en este servidor de Andy Byford y por eso es que estamos aquí hoy.
Muchas gracias. Okay, so just one last little point. I would just like to say again, thank you to everyone who's spoken today, because this is a team effort, right? We could not have done the work that we've done without the support of elected officials, without the support of advocacy groups with whom we've worked very closely. We've had input from our union. We've also had wonderful support, as I said, Janet, good to see you, from our colleagues at the Department of Transportation. But then finally, I didn't do the work. I turn up to events. I go and do my bit, but it was Jessica there, who's the project manager from our wonderful ops planning team, who's done the work. And we owe you a huge vote of thanks. So what we'll do now, guys, is we'll take questions on topic. I know you have some other questions for me, but we'll deal with the on-topic questions first of all. I'm in your hands. So.
Andy, the advocates that I've spoken to about this plan have pointed out that the express bus redesign in Staten Island received an influx of funds and some additional frequencies in service, and they told me that that's not happening on this route. Can you address that?
Yeah, sure. So look, as the Borough President himself said, and as Craig said, this is an iterative process. So what we say, even when we launch the final plan, there is still room for tweaks once the actual plan goes into practice. And that was certainly our experience on Staten Island. We were confident in that plan. We felt it was the right plan, but it's only when you operate it and when you get real-time customer feedback that you know what changes need to be made to it. So that same philosophy will apply to the Bronx. Don't forget, every borough is different though. The difference with Staten Island is it doesn't have a subway. It has the Staten Island Railway. And so people very much rely on express buses on Staten Island. But our commitment, consistent with what the BP said, is we are listening in the same way that we've gone out and listened to the accessibility community to figure out which stations to make accessible, in the same way that we set up a chief customer officer, Sarah Meyer, to listen to customers and to act upon their feedback. This bus redesign is about listening to people. It's the new MTA way. So we will continue to refine this plan as it goes into operation. Andrew.
For the Borough President, you thanked Mr. Byford pretty profusely when you were up there, in particular for listening to the concerns of the folks. Given how unusual you found out the outcome to be, what is your message to MTA headquarters and to the governor's office about keeping Mr. Byford?
My message to everyone is that we should give Byford and his team the resources and let's get out the way. What we've seen is unprecedented. Think about, again, the complexities in the Bronx alone, let alone the entire city of New York when you're speaking about bus routes. And the fact that they go day in and day out, they're working on these plans, they're listening to community folks, and we've seen this before with so many different agencies where they already have the plan that they want. They pretend that they come to us, they hold a big town hall for photo ops or whatever, they check off that box and they wind up doing whatever they're gonna do anyway, regardless of the concerns of the community. That has not been the case. With Andy Byford, I'll say it here, I'll say it again, I'll say it to anyone. He has my full vote of confidence. He's got my trust now. So even when the plan is ultimately implemented, I trust now that on real time, if we have to make adjustments, that he and his team will listen to us, will listen to the community, and make those adjustments. For anybody else, look, I know that there's a lot of politics and things going on. He's proven himself, and I think that we will all, New York City will be served well if we just let him do what he knows how to do and his team knows how to do. I'm here to support that. The politics, for me, is BS.
On-topic questions, guys. Thanks
you.
so much.
That was on topic. That was on topic, Abby. He was talking about Mr. Byford, and I followed up about that. That
Okay,
was on topic.
Marsha.
Thank you.
My question has to do with bus lanes. So the township speaker said that the 14th Street bus lane was so exciting and so good that he'd like to extend it to more bus lanes on 34th Street and 42nd Street. I wonder how you feel about that, and I wonder if you think that bus lanes have a future.
Sure. So our job at New York City Transit is about improving transit for the people of New York. So we're very interested in any intervention, any treatment that can make transit run more smoothly. So we're super encouraged by what's happened on 14th Street. Already, journey times are down, speeds are up, ridership's up, those three key criteria. So we're already, Marsha, talking to DOT about other potential candidates. The cross-city the cross-city routes in New York City and Manhattan are very, very good candidates. There are others. So we have a big shopping list with our colleagues at DOT to look at putting in more traffic signal priority, putting in more bus lanes, better enforcing existing bus lanes, and absolutely building on the success of 14th Street. If, as these early indications suggest, it really does have such a positive impact, then I will be absolutely discussing expanding such routes, such designs across the whole city in conjunction with DOT and obviously in conjunction with communities and elected officials. We have a list throughout the whole city of routes that we think should get higher order treatment. And certainly that's informed our plans as we've progressively worked our way through the Bronx. That's why we are actively fitting traffic signal priority and actively investigating, exploring the potential for more bus lanes across the whole city, yes. Well, I think it's, bear in mind, it is early days. We've only had a few weeks' experience, but what I would say is I've seen it elsewhere. There's lots of good international examples of truly giving transit priority. And certainly these early few weeks on 14th Street show what can be done. Those buses, as I said the other day, those buses are now sailing along 14th Street, where previously you could almost walk more quickly. So it's a proven technique. It's good practice from across the world, and certainly we'll be building a case with our colleagues at DOT for more of that kind of thing. They are candidates.
You mentioned a couple of roads in the Bronx you were going to be looking into. Did you mean you're looking into them for busways?
We're studying them right now. As President Byford said, 14th Street is still in its infancy. There's a lot of work we need to do to analyze to see how that works. And also keep in mind the geography and the roadway network of the Bronx isn't comparable to Manhattan. So what works in one borough doesn't automatically translate to another borough. But we're going to be studying in 2020, starting 10 routes, looking at the crosstown routes in the Bronx specifically, and seeing what treatments we can do there that'll improve bus service. Right, so Fordham Road, Pelham Parkway already has SBS, so we're looking at that route also.
At the end of the day, this is all about, sorry Marsha, this is all about once and for all biting the bullet and giving transit priority. Everyone wants better transit, so as the Boro President said, something has to change. If you keep doing the same thing the same way, you'll always get the same result. We all want better transit, so we must work together with imaginative, bold plans to make that a reality. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, one of the two of the four equal priorities of Fast Forward was about sorting out the bus network once and for all. Dan.
Just wanted to ask, did you take away any bus stops? I know frequent bus stops is an issue you wanted to address. Do you have a number of how many you have to take away?
Yeah, sure. So for the Bronx, 400 bus stops have been removed as part of this plan across the entire borough. Now, were we to strictly apply what we would say is best practice for bus stop spacing, that number would have been far greater. But as ever, again, being customer-led and listening to the community and listening to elected officials and bearing in mind the demographics of a particular area or maybe even the geography of a particular area, sometimes it makes sense to still leave stops slightly closer together. But 400 stops is not insignificant. And bear in mind that each stop, you're looking at between maybe 20 seconds, maybe even a minute of dwell time. That soon adds up and soon contributes to the quicker journeys that everyone wants. Any others on topic? Okay, so thank you to you guys. Mr. President, thank you so much. Thank you so much.